Professor Rosie Young, governors of the School Management Committee, Mr. Our principals, teachers, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow students. It's actually my great honor to be invited here by the invitation, stroke instruction of Professor Rosie Young, who was my teacher in a medical school. And she asked me to come, and I couldn't say no to my teacher. And today it's a very happy occasion that I join your celebration of all your achievement over the last years. And I've seen so many brilliant boys and girls achieving your excellence in academic as well as extracurricular activities. And I think the tributes should go to all the teachers here, as well as to the parents, and also to your hard work. And I'm sure you will have a bright future to come. I know that although this is called a speech day, but the speech is the least that you are looking for. Most people are more looking forward to receive the awards and the certificates, so I will make my speech relatively short. When I think about what I can share with a group of young men and women who is about to start a new page in their life, I remember there is a book that I recently read when I visited Stanford University. The name of the book is called What I Wish I Knew at the Age of 20. I know you're not quite 20 yet, but it's getting close. So if I go back to my age of 20, what I wish I knew and I've learned at that stage. Well, there are three things that I have noticed from the book, and I would like you to remember. The first thing that the book says you should know at the age of 20 is that you should always try to think outside the box, not to follow everything that we're taught by your teachers or by your textbook. Not because they are not trying to tell you the truth, but, well, science and technology, as well as our knowledge in every field, will change with time. I remember the head of Harvard Medical School once said, 10 years after we graduate from medical school, 50% of what we learned from the school will be wrong. The trouble is, we don't know which 50% it is. So Professor Young, what you taught me 30 years ago has only got 12.5%, which is still correct. But I think the important thing is we should learn the principle, but keep our minds open and keep our critical thinking ability so that we can promote our knowledge and review our concepts constantly so that we will have groundbreaking inventions and findings for the future. And try to be innovative. I think one of the things that students in Hong Kong or in Asia for that matter is lacking is the inquisitive mind and try to think of new ways of achieving their goal. So keep your mind open, think of innovative things to do, and try to see whether we can improve on what has been adopted as truth. The second thing that I have learned from that book, and I totally agree with it, is that we should keep our minds and our eyes and our ears open. I remember when I graduated from the medical school, I felt that I was fully competent about medical knowledge. And then I received my training in medicine. And 6 years later, in 1989, I left Hong Kong and started my PhD study in Canada. Working in the laboratory in a foreign country, talking to a group of students from other parts of the world, I find my knowledge was very, very much a tunnel vision, which means that I know everything about all human organs, diseases, and so on. But when they talk about history, when they talk about wildlife, when they talk about cultures, and many other topics, I just couldn't join the conversation. I find that the most difficult time every day is during the coffee break, when people are talking about various things, and I was sitting there just listening and could not join their discussion. And then gradually, I feel that I should start to read more which is outside the curriculum. I should read more, not to be included in the examination. And I should watch more TV, but on Discovery Channel and National Geographic channels, so that I can enrich myself and become a more resourceful person. Now, this is actually very important because you should learn more than what you need in your job in order to get cross-fertilization of ideas from other disciplines so that you can know how you can employ the other people's expertise to improve on your career and on your achievement. Therefore, from that time onwards, I make myself to buy a book every trip I get onto. So I read one book every trip, and I usually take about 2 trips per month. That means I will do 2 dozens of books per year, and that helps me to widen my horizon. Well, you are in a much more lucky generations because you have liberal studies in your high school, and you will not just focus, hopefully, on Phi Chem Bio and mathematics and Chinese and English alone. But still, in your future life, when you leave school, I think you should still carry on with this open mind and open eyes approach, to read more, to listen more, so that you will know what's going on in the world and how we can contribute to the world. So keep your mind open and think outside the box. Now, the third lesson that I've learned from this particular book, called What I Wish I Knew at the Age of 20, was indeed the most important lesson. The most important lesson in life, I think, is to learn that our failure is a necessary step to our success. Every one of us have to go through many, many hurdles and many, many failures in our life before we can achieve anything in our life. Why do I say that? Well, from the book, which is from the Bay Area in San Francisco, you know, Silicon Valley is there, and a lot of IT companies are there. They have numerous examples of failures. Do you know each of the software that you're using right now has to go through thousands, if not tens of thousands of failures before a single product can come into the market? And they have also quoted in that book a very famous example of a person whom I'm sure you know a lot about, and his name is Steve Jobs. I'm sure you have used iPhones, iPad, iPod, whatever. And this is the creation of this man, Steve Jobs, who has not even finished college while he was a teenager. But Steve Jobs created the first Macintosh computer, which is a very ugly box of about this size, and I've got one of those, with a very small window with black and white pictures. It was very ugly, but it was extremely user-friendly. I've got my first generation Macintosh computer, and I keep it in my closet because it becomes an antique now. However, his product was so successful that his company, which was called Apple at that time, expanding so rapidly that this scientist could not manage the company by himself. So he has decided to create a management board and hire a manager to run that company. Only to find that a few years later, he was fired by that manager whom he hired. So he was sacked by the person he hired. He was kicked out of the company that he created. How could that happen? And it was such a disgrace for him that he almost wanted to give up everything and leave Silicon Valley because he was a laughingstock for the whole community. However, after pondering for 6 months, he decided not to give up, but to create another company called Pixel. And you may or may not know this company, but I'm sure you have seen cartoon movies with extremely good animations, such as the Toy Story, Finding Nemo's, the Happy Feet, and so on. Now, this new generations of animations comes from Pixel. And the company again becomes so big that eventually it merges with Macintosh. And now he become the boss of the person who fired him again. So the lesson to learn from Steve Jobs is that don't give up, even when you face great adversities in your life. Because life has many, many turns. And after each turn, you will see a new path. And if you can keep going, one day you will see the end of the tunnel and you will see your success. Well, the reason why I'm standing here, ladies and gentlemen, is because in 1990, when I was a PhD student, Professor Rose Young came to Canada. She actually stopped over many cities in Canada to visit the Hong Kong U alumni there. And when I greeted him at the airport, she was quite upset and said, "Joseph, what are you doing here? You should come back to Hong Kong and serve the community in Hong Kong." Well, again, never argue with your teacher. I followed the instruction, and so here I am. But life has many turns. You never know what is opening up for you in the next turn. And since I came back to Hong Kong, I have gone through some very difficult times. I have gone through difficult times in establishing my specialties in gastroenterology. I have gone through difficult times in fighting with surgeons, as physicians usually do. I have gone through difficult times of fighting SARS, and many, many others, just to name a few. But the lesson that I have learned from all this is to stand up from where you fell down and to try again if it did not succeed in the first time. And today, I'm telling you, young men and young ladies, that you will be, in your next few years, seeing a lot of difficult times, a lot of failures, a lot of hurdles. And what you need is not just to complain and become bitter about everything. What you need is to pick up yourself and try harder next time so that you can improve and to see your final success. So please remember these three things. Think outside the box, keep your mind open, and try not to give up in difficult time. And one day you will see your own success. And when that day comes, please remember there are many people standing behind you to help you to achieve to that point. And the society is the one that you should contribute to. So remember John Kennedy in his inauguration speech, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Thank you very much.